just to display it on the screen?
Yes, so everyone can see how beautiful I look.
Exactly. Okay.
Yes, you do.
Sylvia took that picture.
Can you see it now?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, good.
You know, I'm working on my new laptop and I'm okay. I really get a little concerned because when I press different keys that I think should widen the screen, it closes me out. So I don't want that to happen. So I can click on OK. So now, Sergio, I see the little pictures across the top, but then I don't see my large picture in the screen. But we won't try it. We won't try it now because I would not want to mess up anything.
Okay. I'll just leave the image for a while and then play the video for.
Yes. So we probably can start playing the video now that everyone has seen the great photography work of Sylvia Powers out of Dallas, Texas.
Okay. Let me see if we have some issues with the audio here.
I'm Thelma D. Jones. I've lived in Southwest for more than 48 years. My parents decided that after graduating from a junior college of business in Durham, that I should go farther afield as opposed to returning to the tobacco fields of North Carolina. I loved it, and I thought this is going to be home. I was invited to be a part of the Southwest Neighborhood Assembly, and I liked its mission, which was to improve the quality of life for its residents, regardless of who they were, race, economics, gender, and all of that. I always feel like that I'm walking a line of the haves and the have-nots. I have a role to continue to work so that both sides of the community can continue to come together. Our nation's capital has one of the largest mortality rates of breast cancer. I felt like I couldn't go through this disease without parting my knowledge and experience to help others. So I created the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund. This is where I gave to a community that gave to me. I still love Southwest, and Southwest still loves me.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. My name is Thelma D. Jones, and I am the proud founder of the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund. Welcome to our monthly meeting. And this meeting, like all of the others, are exciting, informative, and meaningful. However, this one and each month, our meetings grow a notch up in terms of the impact that they have on those who are under the sound of our voice. And we are live on Facebook as well. So the theme of our meeting is beauty shouldn't risk our health. I am honored that we have a list of distinguished speakers to address this meaningful topic. Let me just welcome our speakers, Dr. Elissia Franklin, our guest speaker from Silent Spring Institute. We also have Dede Teteh-Brooks, who is with UTMD Anderson Cancer Center in Texas. We have Jalecia King, who is with Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. We also have Naomi Vinod, who is from Howard University, our HBCU, HU, you know. We also have Sylvia Powers, one of our regulars, who is here just about every month from Dallas, Texas, and representing her organization, NCBC, the National Consortium of Breast Centers. And we have right here in our community, Ava Millstone and Rhonda Hamilton. And I think you heard in the video about the Southwest Neighborhood Assembly. So these two lovely ladies will tell you about the great work that they are doing in our community. And then also we have, last but not least, Karen Hargrove, who will be doing the blessing. And just before we start the blessing, I also want to recognize our new board member, Dr. Alejandra Hurtado de Mendoza, who is with Georgetown University. Welcome, Dr. Mendoza, and thank you for joining our board.
Thank you very much. It is my honor to be part of the board. Thank you.
Thank you. And not only is she a board member and has helped to spread the word about the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund locally and regionally, but over the years, she has spoken several times from both Spain and Guatemala. So our reach is enormous. And she also always has her family with her, and I'm sure we're going to hear from some of her family members later on, that they started when our relationship started. So I just love this. So thank you, everyone, and we will hear more about our wonderful speakers, hear from our wonderful speakers later on. But let me just tell you a bit about the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund. We were founded as a support group in April 2010, and then we evolved to a full-fledged organization in September 2012 on my 60th anniversary. So I know you want to do the math to see how old I am, but let me tell you, we will learn today that looks are deceiving. And so don't try calculating, because I'm not as old as I look. But I may be older than I look. So, but thank you again for indulging me with a bit of humor. The mission of the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund is to advocate and improve the overall health and well-being for women, men, and young girls as we work steadfastly to help reduce the incidence and mortality rates of breast cancer. And as if you were on the video when it was playing, you heard that our nation's capital has actually one of the largest mortality rates of breast cancer in the country, and it is affecting women who look like me. We also have one of the highest incidents of breast cancer in the country. And so tonight in our theme, Beauty Shouldn't Risk Our Health, we're going to be looking at some of the hair and personal care products that we're using that could even be affecting the incidence and mortality rates that are occurring not only here in the District of Columbia, but throughout the United States and the world. So I was telling you about our mission and some of the wonderful things that we do to pursue our mission. starts with our monthly support group meeting, that we have held a monthly support group meeting every month with the exception of once since 2010, where we bring together wonderful speakers like the ones we have tonight to share a variety of information on breast health. We also do patient navigation work, from scheduling appointments, and if we are unable to schedule the appointment, we don't leave that person alone. We keep working with our partners. We have a number of partners. Georgetown University is one of them. Howard University is another one. And of course, we cannot forget NCBC. And we look forward to becoming official partners as well with Johns Hopkins University, with MD Anderson, or the Bench Connection, as well as, and of course, we've worked with Silent Spring before, so we just want to grow that relationship more. Some of the other things that we do involves our outreach, tabling, speaking at a number of events, and just being a part of places that we can share resources so that people can make informed decisions and choices. The idea of knowing more about the impact of personal care products started in 2018 when I attended a conference at Georgetown University on environmental challenges and the impact that they have on our health. And from there, I met through Georgetown University, I met Dr. Erin Spicer. Some of you may know her in Hackensack, New Jersey. And we started the idea of having a session on the impact of personal care products, which we did. And then, of course, through one of the connections, Dr. Tracy Bethay, with Georgetown University, recommended the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund to attend a conference, a 2-day conference that was held by Silent Spring. So hence that relationship. And it was Dr. Tracy Bethay who then referred me to Dr. Elissia Franklin. So as you can see, it is the connection and the impact of partnerships that really help us to grow and broaden our impact. So thank you, Dr. Franklin, for being a part of that circle. So we are now, because I could tell you a lot more about the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund, but I would invite and encourage you to visit us on our website at www.tdjbreastcancerfund.org. We are also on social media, and we have a YouTube channel. Please consider, if you aren't already signed up or following us, I encourage you to do so. So with that in mind, I would now like to ask Karen Hargrove, who is with from Upper Marlboro, Maryland, a 2-time breast cancer survivor, advocate, and author, and a TDJBCF ambassador in training, to give us the blessing.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay, there we go. Good evening, everyone. Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening grateful for life, for strength, and for the gift of gathering in community. We thank you for every guest on this call, for their story, their resilience, and their beauty, inside and out. Heavenly Father, as a 2-time breast cancer survivor, advocate, and author. I stand as a witness to your grace. You carry me through the valley and brought me into purpose. And because of you, I am still here to share, to uplift, and to remind others they are not alone. Tonight, we stand on simple truth that beauty should never come at the cost of our health. Help us to see ourselves as you see us, fearfully and wonderfully made, worthy of care, worthy of protection. Give us wisdom in what we learn, courage in what we choose, and peace in what we carry. Bless the work of the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund. Let it shine as a light and always be a beacon of hope in this community. And Heavenly Father, for anyone battling, healing, or searching, replace fear with peace, confusion with clarity, and uncertainty with hope. In your loving and healing name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. And thank you, Karen, for that lovely blessing. Sorry, I know I went off mute. My computer tends to do that on its own, so I apologize if I'm talking and my sound has disappeared. I'll try and watch it more carefully. But I was saying thank you, Karen, for that lovely blessing and for helping to center us. Thank you. And so now that we have had a lovely blessing and to center us, we are really going to get into the action about our theme. Beauty shouldn't risk our health. And again, what we're going to be talking about tonight, first starting off with Dr. Elissia Franklin, is connecting hair and beauty products to our overall health, including breast health, and sharing practical ways that we can stay informed and protect ourselves. But before I welcome you to the floor, I'd like to share a bit about this wonderful young lady. And as a parent of a child who looks about your age, doggone it, I'm giving away my age again. But I know they are very proud of you because I am proud of you. So let me just share a bit about Dr. Franklin. She is an analytical chemist, a research scientist, and a science communicator known for her work in environmental health and beauty justice. She serves as a research scientist at the Silent Spring Institute, which I mentioned earlier, where she investigates chemical exposures from consumer products that disproportionately affect Black women and marginalized communities. Currently, her area of specialization includes, and I hope some of these terms aren't too far out familiar, because if so, I'm sure Dr. Franklin will explain them. Her area of specialization includes non-targeted analysis using mass spectrometry to identify endocrine disrupting chemicals and other toxins in beauty products like hair and extension. She does a lot of advocacy work in her field, where she focuses on, quote unquote, beauty justice, aiming to uncover systemic disparities in chemical exposures and promote safer, non-toxic alternatives, to promote safer and non-toxic alternatives for underserved groups. Dr. Franklin holds a PhD in analytical chemistry from Purdue University, where her research focused on lipid structural characterizations using mass spectrometry. She also holds a BS in chemistry from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. And I can tell you a lot more about this outstanding young lady, but I'm going to stop here and invite you to join me as we welcome Dr. Elissia Franklin from Okay, Dr. Franklin.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jones, for having me here. And thank you to the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund team for all of the work you're doing behind the scenes to make this a reality and get all these resources to such a valuable community. And so I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. I have a few slides and is everyone seeing my slides okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And I'm just gonna jump right into it. So it was already kind of explained my research and like what my specialties are. But what I like to highlight in the beginning is just like what I do this work for, and is to provide the support for self-liberation and protection for those who are underprotected from harmful beauty products. And so and most of the time, the people who are underprotected are underserved. And so a lot of the work in my research is to provide the tools and the resources to support that foundation. And so jumping into it, as was mentioned before by Ms. Jones, there are harmful chemicals that are in the products that we use every day. And so that's everywhere from the chemicals or the products that we use in our daily routine. So think skincare, hair care, when you go to the nail salon, things like when you get your makeup done. And even more recently, we studied the chemicals that were in hair extensions. And the reason why these are of particular interest to me is because these are the products that you are trusting and you are purchasing with your money, bringing into your home, and you are believing that a lot of these products or these companies are doing a lot of that thought for you and providing you with a product that is known to be safe. And what we know is that chemicals do what a lot of people believe, but what is actually true is that what we understand is that chemicals do not have to be tested for safety before they're put in our products. And so what that means is that there are chemicals like carcinogens or cancer-causing chemicals, including breast carcinogens and hormone disruptors, which have been linked to breast cancer, that are being found in our everyday products that we're using. And so it's just not one type of outcome that we're talking about. We're not just talking about breast cancer, talking about hormone disruption, which is linked with so many other health endpoints. We're talking things that are harmful for development of fetuses, or even reproductive abnormalities and things like that. And so these are all things we want to keep on our radar. But even more so is that we understand that there are differences in these product uses. And so there are Black women in particular. So we did a study a few years back and looked at the products that Black women, that women were using, women in California were using. And what we found was Black women use more hair products than other groups, and also more menstrual and intimate care products than other groups of women, meaning that if we're using more of these products, that could lead to more exposure to those harmful chemicals that I mentioned earlier. And so us understanding that, there are these differences in use, we wanted to get a deeper dive into, okay, what are in these products that we're actually that we're using. And so one study that we published last year, we looked at labels. And so we used these different methodologies to evaluate chemicals that are in the products that we use. And so for one study, we looked at labels, and what we were trying to determine is if there are formaldehyde releasers or formaldehyde listed on the products, our personal care products that are being used. And the reason why this was so important is because formaldehyde is a known carcinogen. And so we don't want that in our products. But not only that, there are chemicals that actually, even though it may not say formaldehyde on the label, it'll be some alternative chemical that is known to release that known carcinogen into our products. So that may be the most common example of that listed on an ingredient label would be DM-hydantin based on our study. So you may see something that like on the label, it reads DM-hydantin. And so we looked for chemicals like DM-hydantin on the labels, and we found that it was over 1,000 products that the women in California were using, and only 4% of them had these formaldehyde releasers and formaldehyde in it. But these were very popular products that had these on the labels. So most of the study participants actually had we're using at least one product with a formaldehyde releaser or formaldehyde on the label. So it's more commonly used than we had predicted. And so that's one thing that we evaluated was the formaldehyde releasers and formaldehyde in product. But we also, this one at this point is a few years back. And so we wanted to identify any EDCs or endocrine disrupting chemicals in products. And these are chemicals that are known to disrupt the body's natural hormone processes. And then also asthma-associated chemicals, specifically in hair products that are used by Black women. And what we found is that all of them had at least one concern. All of the products in this study had at least one concerning chemical in it. And what was most concerning was it was the products that were marketed to young children that actually had the highest concentrations, some of these chemicals in it. And so that in itself is concerning, but that just shows that the products that we're using in particular, Black women are using, have these, chemicals of health concern in them. And more recently this year, we also studied where we did like a comprehensive analysis of the chemicals that are in hair extensions. And hair extensions are of particular interest because when you think about the way that hair extensions are used, they're commonly used as what we call a protective style. And so these are braids that you're putting in as a way of protecting the hair, or even sew-ins or wigs as a way of keeping, as a way of protecting your natural hair, or a way of convenience and things like that. And so up until this analysis, we didn't quite understand the full range of chemicals, and there's still a lot to be learned that were in these products, and particularly those that can be extracted from the surface of the hair. And so we did an analysis. We found hundreds of chemicals, but what we ended up identifying was around 50 chemicals of health concern across the 43 samples that we tested. And these were products that we purchased from a local beauty supply store here in Houston. And also that these were popular brands. If there were more popular brands, and they weren't available at that beauty supply store, we would order them. We ordered them online. So there were dozens of chemicals that were known to be either associated with developmental abnormalities or reproductive issues, and breast cancer, and then also breast cancer and birth defects. So, moving forward, but it's not just that. And so these are some of our analyses that, what we wanted to understand was the chemicals that were in the products. But, it's not just that these chemicals are just in the products, but actually that there are some beauty practices that are associated with health disparities. So there are studies that have been done that showed that, for instance, use of hair dyes, or specifically the darker shades, are associated with certain types of breast cancer outcomes, specific breast cancer outcomes, and that hair straighteners use, so the more like hair straightener use is associated with fibroids, or even that straightening also is associated with 2 times risk of uterine cancer for users versus non-users. And so these are all things that suggest that it's not just about the chemicals being in the products, but there are some health endpoints that are actually being linked to these product uses. And what we also know is that there are differences in product-related exposure. So even though, again, some of these chemicals are in a lot of products, not everyone is exposed equally. And so a study in an analysis, we found that for some of these hormone disruptors, for this one in particular, it's the parabens, we're seeing that Black folks have higher concentrations of some of these metabolites, some of these chemicals in their bodies. And there are things like, for instance, the this is a metabolite. This is a metabolite for diethyl phthalate metabolite, where it has been associated with slightly earlier puberty in one study. And then also there's douching as well. So there's a study that found that douching in the past month was associated with, again, higher levels of phthalate compounds in the body as well. So it's just showing that these actions or these beauty practices or these aesthetic practices are leading to higher exposures to some of these chemicals. And also things like that hairstylists or hairdressers have higher levels of some of these hormone disruptors in their bodies as well, when compared to office workers. So just the use of some of these beauty products are leading to product-related exposures. And we had a study also that was published last year where we wanted to look at, it feels almost like I don't want it to feel like there's just this doomsday or like there's nothing we can do about it, because our studies have suggested that actually we can have some power in our exposures, and that we can reduce our exposures by product choices that we make. And so a study that we published last year showed that those who self-reported avoiding certain chemicals or certain ingredients did have lower levels of those associated chemicals in their bodies when compared to those who didn't avoid certain chemicals. So that's the upside, is that there are individual actions that we could take to reduce our exposure to certain chemicals. So again, if for our study participants, if they avoided fragrance, they had lower concentrations of that of the monoethyl phthalate, which is the metabolite of the diethyl phthalate, which is again just a hormone disruptor that is associated with fertility and developmental fetus abnormalities, and the also with those who said they avoided phthalates, they had lower levels of the monobenzyl phthalate in their bodies as well. And then again, parabens, those who said that they had parabens did have 2 times lower of concentrations of parabens in their body as well. And so this does suggest that product selection does matter in reducing exposures. And because we know that this individual behavior does support reduction in exposures, we really wanted to get this word out. And so a lot of another direction of our work is how do we get this messaging to the communities that are really affected. And so we do this through working with social media influencers as one way of communicating our work. And so as one example, we worked with an influencer, Dr. Ijama Kola, who put out a post that was simple call to action. Here are 3 tips that you can use to reduce your chemical exposure. And what her post did, it reached a lot of people, and it showed that through influencers, you're able to communicate some of this work in a way that some of this science in a way that's palatable to palatable more widestream than it would be if it's just behind a paywall in a research study. So really getting the word out. But another thing that we wanted to understand is, did this actually lead to differences in behavior? Particularly, our question is, does who you follow on social media matter? Does the person that you follow and that you're learning from matter in your overall behaviors? And what we found was that there was a significant difference in the responses of those who were exposed to content versus those who didn't see particular pieces of content. Where, for example, 80% of those who are exposed to social media content did say that they would now check the company's chemical policies or ingredients, compared to only about half of those folks who were not exposed to any content. And that the amount that of chemical avoidance among those who saw content versus those who didn't was double that. And particularly, these are folks who are writing in saying, I would avoid parabens, BPA, PFAS, and fragrances. And we know that we want folks to avoid fragrance because fragrance is an umbrella term that really does not give you any information about the chemicals that are in your products. And that's something we can talk about later if someone who wants to ask a question, but I'll move on. But this to me means one thing that stands out is the people that you're following, that if you are following folks who are providing this information, what our study suggests is that you are picking up on that knowledge and it may be contributing to behavior change. But a lot of what I shared was about the consumer making an individual decision. I believe that it should not be on us to have to get a PhD in chemistry to be able to understand the chemistry of our products and be able to read an ingredients label. There are tools out there that can be used to help support in these. Again, I can answer some of those in the Q&A, like what tools can be useful for those who are trying to read their labels and uncover some of their exposures. But I just want to highlight that what really our work is for is to not to police people and say, you better not use these products. It's to inform policy so that there's more science-backed policies that say, hey, here is science that supports that we should be taking these chemicals or require manufacturers to take these chemicals out of these products. And with that said, I'm a little over my time, so I'll leave us with, again, beauty should never be at the cost of our health. And I do hope that we can relieve the burden from our communities, and that burden would be in more upstream for regulators and manufacturers and things like that. I want to also acknowledge some of the funding sources. And with that, I'll stop sharing my screen and answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Franklin. That was a lot. And I have to admit that listening to your presentation, I developed more anger about this, because when you think about how do we reduce the uses of them, and we know that it is marginalized people who have very low income but want to look good because social media and all of this tells us what our standards are. So they're still going to go out and buy these products. And I know you said it's about policy and that to change it, but I'm not feeling that this is where we are. As a matter of fact, I'm feeling that we're a long ways away from that. So what is it? I guess we can start with, what is it that the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund can start doing? And I think we've had these conversations around Southwest DC having one of the largest concentrations of public housing in the nation's capital. And I'd like to work to get more information out. So what is it that we can be doing? Which of the tools can we start with?
Yes, so there are different apps, for instance, that if an individual is shopping or if they want to evaluate the products that they've already purchased, they can use them. So there are apps like Clearia, that's Clearya. And what Clearia does is you take a picture of your label, front, back, and it will tell you if there are any chemicals associated with any health endpoints that you may want to avoid. I'm an expecting mom, and like if it's a developmental toxicant, I would know because Clearia will point out that, this, and it references different studies. Now, that app is a little bit harder to use than like a Yucca or a EWG's Healthy Living app, where you can scan the product and it gives you a green, yellow, red. Is it something that you should use, shouldn't use? But I think most of them at this point give you alternative products that you could look for that are on the safer end of things based on known information about the chemicals in the products. And so the ones that are like, again, the Yucca app and EWG's Healthy Living app, those give you more of a of a ranking system so that you can just get your yes or your no's. And so like just sharing those as tools, I think is very helpful. I also think advocating for when there are publicly shared resources like your lotions or your hand soaps or your hand sanitizers, considering like speaking up and saying, hey, can we go the fragrance-free route in this bathroom here instead of in this bathroom having the bubbly, lovely, fragrance hand soap. And yeah, I think that those are two. I know there are more, but that's what came up, I thought about at the top of my head.
And in a general perception, these bad chemicals can come inside expensive products and cheap products, right?
Yes, based on our study, we did see that even if a product is expensive, it does not mean that it is free of harm. The price does not determine the safety.
Right. Thank you.
No, okay, Alejandra, before I answer my question.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this wonderful talk. I was curious about two things. So one is there any research about the use of these personal care products by cancer survivors compared to non-survivors, and especially adolescent and young adults, like even what you mentioned in terms of the younger populations. And the second one, well, I'm very fascinated about engaging the social media influencers. I think that's I'd be curious to know like how to engage them. I think that's really brilliant. And then the other question is, how has your experience been trying to translate this research into policy changes? Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll start with the first one. Actually, we do have Dr. Dede Teteh on here, who her work focuses on breast cancer survivors and being evaluating their product use and product exposures. So I'll put a pin in that one and let her go ahead and answer that. I'm analyzing now a data set around product testing for products that are used by cancer survivors, particularly in Kenya. And so that's another direction, is like thinking of this on more of a global level, not just here, like we're like here in the US. And then you asked me about
About the
translation.
policy.
Policy.
Yeah, your experience in trying to influence policy.
Yes. And so our work, for instance, has been influential in policy. And even we had a study recently that was used by, Oral-B. So we put out a study that found that if you've heard of the forever chemicals or the PFAS, so per and polyfluorinated alkyl substances, the studies around, or the news articles around them, have been everywhere. But in that study, what we particularly were interested in is what are some of the sources of exposure to these forever chemicals? And we found that actually your dental floss was a major source of exposure to these forever chemicals. And I know dental floss, like they tell you got to floss and then you find this out, right? It's like, I knew I was, all this flossing was for, anyway, but we found that the flossing was a major source of exposure to PFAS. And when they changed their formula, when Oral-B changed their formula, they actually cited our work as one of the key studies as to why they chose a new, a different formula for their study. The analysis of the formaldehyde and formaldehyde releasers in the beauty, or in the personal care products, that study that I mentioned, that also has been cited for some statewide regulations of formaldehyde in hair relaxers, in particular, in hair products, for statewide regulations. And there are movements and different policies being on a statewide level that people are trying to get up and going. But, I think right now where we are in the US federally, there may be a bit of pause around any federal level policy changes. And so a lot of what we're hoping for is that what we understand is that if you can get one state to put forth a policy and make it a law, it changes the formula for everyone across the country. We found that, for instance, for Proposition 65 in California, which is it's a regulation in California that essentially, if there's a chemical in products above a certain threshold, companies have to list this warning on the product. And some people have seen it because they send it, even though it's a California regulation, you've probably seen it on the products or a building. I was at a hotel and they had it on the hotel, letting, hotel entrance, letting folks know. But our study found that actually for a nationwide sample of people in the US, the concentrations in people's bodies of those Proposition 65 chemicals reduced after the implementation of Proposition 65. Even it did more so in California, but it also reduced across the country because of essentially a company isn't going to change the formula for one state. They want to just change if it's if they're providing a product across the country, they're just going to change their formula. So anyway, there's that hope too that a state can make those modifications, can make changes nationwide. Yeah.
This is so inspiring. Thank you for sharing those examples. I know oftentimes science doesn't make it to policy changes, and this is really, really inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing.
And I just want to answer, there's one question in the chat about research around perfumes. We haven't made it there yet. I just want to highlight from Miss Latanya that no, we haven't studied perfumes quite yet.
Thank you.
And thank you, Latanya is one of my years of colleagues from the World Bank Group and representing the World Bank IMF African American Association. So thank you for attending, Latanya. Well, I actually do have a couple more questions, but in the interest of time, we are going to move on, and maybe Dr. Dede Teteh-Brooks may answer some of the questions if we still have time. So thank you again, Dr. Franklin, and I hope we can bring you back at a later date, because there's just so much around this that we didn't really, that I feel that we could dig deeper into or dive deeper into. So thank you. So earlier, and let's give Dr. Franklin a nice round of applause for that. Earlier, I mentioned about our partnerships and our collaborators and how important it is to have them to expand both our impact and resources. So I am happy to start off with a new collaborator, Dr. Dede Teteh-Brooks, which we've heard a mention of her. And let me just share with you how I met Dr. Teteh-Brooks. Actually, I have been receiving her emails for a few years, and I have sent out some of her emails. So I could easily just go back and Google her name and voila. But how I actually met her in person, a couple of weeks ago, we were at a Prevent Cancer Foundation conference out in Arlington, Virginia. And I'm sitting at the table, minding my business. And she and Jalecia King, who we will hear from later on, were talking. And I heard the term personal care products. And I just said, excuse me, did you just mention something about personal care products? And from that, I told her about the presentation that we were having. And Dr. Franklin was the guest speaker. And of course, as the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. So she knew Dr. Franklin. And so I had that short time period to convince her to come on and talk about the work that she is doing. So I am so pleased that you're here. And let me just tell you a little bit about our next speaker. She is an assistant professor of public health in the Department of Health Disparities Research at UT MD Anderson Cancer Center. She is also the founder of the Bench to Community Initiative, which is where I think I'm getting most of the emails that were coming from. And in that capacity, she does a lot of advocacy and community work where she translates scientific research into actionable community solutions. Now, Bench to Research is an organization dedicated to advancing health equity and beauty justice, specifically by researching the impacts of harmful chemicals in hair and beauty products on Black women, which you've heard Dr. Franklin refer to. Dr. Teteh-Brooks holds a doctorate in public health and a master's in public health and is a certified health education specialist. So as you can tell, we just have some really experienced and powerful sisters here in the house this evening. So I love it. So please join me as I welcome Dr. Teteh-Brooks.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jones. That was a really kind introduction. Sergio, were you gonna be able to share the slide? While he's getting that started, yes, birds of a feather do definitely flock together. You guys just heard from my sister from another mother and a different father. So, Dr. Franklin, the work that she's doing is just beyond phenomenal. We're so grateful to have her as a part of this beauty justice community. So mine is the pink one with the survivor in the pink hat. Yes, thank you so much, Sergio. Um, Again, like Miss Jones, I think if you've ever met Miss Jones in person, you're not surprised that she was eavesdropping on mine and Jalecia's conversation, and we're both ended up being on this program tonight after meeting her for like 5 minutes. She is a wonderful, wonderful individual just from the brief time that I met her, and definitely a force because I text Tracy after I met you, and she was like, "Aha, I know her." So I have the opportunity of sharing a really, really special project with some community partners. So again, thank you so much for having me. This study we built for and with Black breast cancer survivors. We call it BBCSI for short, which stands for Black Breast Cancer Survivors Intervention. So you've already heard a lot of this already, but let me tell you a little bit of a reminder of why this study matters. Black women face hard things after a breast cancer diagnosis, even before a diagnosis, right? So now we have a diagnosis which adds additional stressors, additional worries, the worry about your health, that of your family, your future. And we also use personal care products every day, as Dr. Franklin mentioned, like our lotions, our hair, makeup, soap. And all of these products have chemicals in them that may not be good for our bodies that you just learned earlier. So these chemicals can mess with our hormones. And for breast cancer survivors, that matters. And we're learning every day just how much that matters, especially for this population group. So we asked the question, can a support program built with the community help Black breast cancer survivors live better lives? Can it help them feel stronger, learn about the harmful chemicals, and find ways to lower their exposure? So that is what BBCSI is all about. And this idea of the connection between personal care products exposure and breast cancer risk actually came from Black women. The question came from Black women, specifically the ones that I was working with back in 2014 in California, where this work began. This work now has grown into what we are calling the Bench to Community Initiative, or BCI for short. So 2014 and now we're in 2026. Yes, research does take a lot of time, especially when you include those impacted as a part of the solution. But we're here now. We're going to keep it moving. So who can join BBCSI? This information is on the screen for you, but I'll go ahead and go through them as well. We're looking for Black breast cancer survivors who are 18 years or older, who have been diagnosed with stage 0 to 3. The diagnosis should be within the past 4 years and able to read and understand English. And if this sounds like you or someone you love or like, we not going to discriminate or even hate, we'll take them too. So listen up to what this is all going to entail. So if you are a part of this study and you're eligible to participate, first you will fill out some online surveys. They help us learn about your health and your life. Next, you will join 6 support group sessions. They happen to be on Zoom from the comfort of your own home. You'll meet with other Black survivors across the US. I think right now we have people from DC to Alaska to the South and all over. You will learn from trusted community leaders. We talk about your well-being, side effects of your treatments, the products you use, and talk in length about ways that you can speak up for your health in terms of advocacy. We also asked for several urine samples throughout the study. The urine samples are collected at home as well and mailed to us at MD Anderson. This is how we're going to measure the chemicals in your body. And after we test it, we do send you a personal report that we're going to help you read and understand so that you can see some of the chemicals that may be in your body. You will also learn what you can do about reducing your exposure. And some women may be invited back to do a one-on-one interview to share more information about their experience, since this study is probably the first of its kind, which is really focused on survivors, specifically Black breast cancer survivors. So because we know that your time matters, all participants are going to be compensated for each of the study activities that they finish. But before I close, I did want to just share that who is behind this work. So I'm supporting this research study from MD Anderson in Houston, but I'm not by myself, so I'm not alone. Our community partners in Georgia is led by Mrs. Tia Tomlin Harris. She is also a breast cancer survivor and a strong voice for our community. Our community partner in California is Pastor Rhonda Holbert. She brings faith, wisdom, and love in every single session that she leads. And together we built this program with other survivors in mind. So if you're interested in learning more or even interested in participating, there's a QR code on the screen that you can scan with your phone. If that doesn't work, I'm going to drop the link in the chat shortly. You can also send us an email at bci@mdanderson.org or call us on that phone number or text us with your interests as well. So before I close, I did want to say it's important for us, especially researchers that are working in communities that look like us, that we have to work together in order to get this work across to the folks that need it the most. So your story, your voice, and your time can help change the future for Black women. So even if you don't participate in this study, I really want to encourage you to be a part of the conversation around any study that's related to Black women, and really push researchers to have that bi-directional conversation with you if you do engage. Because eventually it could help not just your family, but future individuals in our community and the like. So I'll stop there. And again, thank you so much, Ms. Thelma, for this opportunity. And I'm happy to answer some questions. I am going to put some resources in the chat with some things that came up. So I wanted to highlight Dr. Tracy Bethea's work. She's at Georgetown University, who's also working with breast cancer survivors using PANSIP sampling methods. Our project is going to be primarily focused on the collection of urine samples and building, again, we're working together to build the literature around the focus on survivors. And then there was a question that came up related to youth. How are youth being impacted or engaged in this research? I'm going to put some information about the Hermosa study, which is actually one of the studies that we use to adapt this work for survivors for the BBCSI project. And what they found in that particular study, which is from Salinas, California, using 100 Latina teenagers, was that after providing alternative products, just from reading the label, after 3 days, those chemicals, EDCs that Dr. Franklin talked about, were reduced significantly after 3 days. And then the other resource that I wanted to share with you all as it relates to policy and what I agree with Dr. Franklin. We really shouldn't be on consumers or for us to get a PhD in order to understand some of these chemicals that are being exposed to us. So there is a Safer States tracker. If you're interested in learning about different policies that are currently in the works that's impacting your state, as unfortunately the federal landscape may be a bit slow in the next couple of years. But there are state level policies that you may be able to support, and I'll add that link in the chat as well, just to answer some follow-up questions that folks had. So that's it for me.
Thank you so much. I mean, this is just a wealth of information, and I know we will have to invite you, the two of you, back again. And I'm impressed that most of the names that you called out are people that the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund is currently working with. So that lets me know that we're moving in the right direction. So thank you for sharing the other people that you are working with as well. And Dr. Tracy Bethea and I work together with the Voices, ACS Voices of Black Women, among other things. Okay.
Yes, man. Tracy's a phenomenal human. So
Thank you. And now you mentioned that day at the Prevent Cancer Foundation, it was Jalecia King, and I was able to recruit both of you to speak. Well, a little secret is that Jalecia and I had met probably about a month or so before that, and I was trying to find a time to bring her on the program. So the stars really aligned, and she is here this evening. So let me just tell you a bit about Jalecia King, who is with the Jalecia is the community outreach manager for community outreach and the engagement team at John Hopkins Kimmel Cancer Center, which is sometimes we like to think it's like right down the road, but because of the traffic, Baltimore is a longer trip than we realize. And with over a decade of experience in public health, her work focuses on health equity. And I just love how everyone here this evening has a health equity focus. Health equity, cancer prevention, and community education. She does community outreach to bridge the gap between medical research and underserved population by leading health education initiatives, organizing local community affairs, and promoting cancer screening. She is an alum of an HBCU, Morgan State University, where she's earned her Master's of Public Health and has built a career focused on advocacy, community health, and reducing cancer risks. Please join me in welcoming Jalecia King from John Hopkins. Jalecia?
Good evening. Good evening. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. It is so good to see you, Ms. Thelma. Thank you so much for inviting us to come and speak to you this evening. So I come from the Johns Hopkins Sidney Kimmel Comprehensive Cancer Center, our community outreach and engagement program. And our program's design is really to focus on the community and making sure that there's the connection between them and researchers. And this provides it's not just that one direction, but also in the other direction when researchers need that kind of feedback from the community on how they can better create their research. We provide that space for them to have a group of community members from all over the state of Maryland, and now we're moving into the District of Columbia. But we allow them that opportunity to present their work and collect real-time feedback from the people that will be impacted the most. And I think that is important. A few examples of how we've done that. We had a researcher that did a survey of all of the colleges and universities in the state of Maryland. And she noticed that all of our predominantly white institutions had HPV and cervical cancer awareness programs and provided the vaccine to their students. However, the 4 HBCUs in Maryland did not offer that program, nor did they provide education. And that's so significant because we know that vaccination is like the best way to prevent cervical cancer. HPV causes 90% of cervical cancers. And if we can just get people vaccinated, we really can see a decline. And not having the access to those programs at our HBCUs drastically puts our women and our men at a disadvantage to be at risk for HPV, which is a sexually transmitted infection. So we want to make sure that we're protecting our young people. And what we did with that research is that we took it to our community advisory group, and they said, hey, why don't we just start a research program to educate some of the students on our campuses? And we had one researcher who did just that. She got some funding, and she went and we're educating students at Morgan State University first, and then we're going to go to Bowie State if everything goes well. But the goal is to educate students and then provide them with the option to be able to get vaccinated if that is their choice. I think one of the major things that I live on is making sure that I teach a man how to fish so he can eat for the rest of his days. And that is how we're going to make actual change. And so being able to take an idea that just happened to be some data and really apply it to make actual change. And this isn't only just an education session, but it also is bringing vaccination to the campus, should that be their choice, so that we're not creating barriers. We're educating, and then we don't give you an opportunity to do something about it. So that's one example. We've taken some of our community groups and come in person. What are some of the things you guys need from us? Always meeting behind a screen doesn't always meet the needs that our community has. So that might mean holding a health fair that provides groceries as well, where we get to have a conversation about colorectal cancer or breast cancer, but we're also meeting a need of the community as well. So that's one thing that I get to work with, and I enjoy being in our program, because not only do I get to help educate our community, but I get to help educate our researchers and how to converse with the community and how to make sure that what they're doing actually matters and how they interact with the community is impactful, is respectful, and understanding that there is an outcome for them as well and not just us. So I'm very passionate about this work, and I am thrilled about the opportunity. I work for Dr. Otis Brawley, and he is also passionate about this work. So it is, and we've had the Voices program come and present to our community advisory groups. So we are very enthralled into the community, and we look forward to collaborating more, because we have actionable steps is what I live on. And I want to make sure that we show up in the community in that way. So I thank you so much, Ms. Thelma, for inviting me. And I look forward to being involved with you, because you seem to be a powerhouse already.
I appreciate you sharing the great work that you are doing in the community. And if you recall, when we had our discussion at Howard University, I sort of got the impression that you were thinking, I wish that lady over there would stop asking questions and putting in her views. As you know,
ma'am. No, ma'am. I thoroughly enjoyed your passion, because it lets me know that I have a true partner in really making something happen in the community. I appreciate you for trusting me, because I know that's hard, especially in the institution that I represent.
Thank you. And I do have one quick question. When you mentioned that you discovered the HBCUs didn't have any of the information on cervical cancer and HPV, but the PWIs did. So, because I'm sensing there's this misnomer that we don't want to know. And if you're talking about a group of young, educated leaders of tomorrow, they want to know. So my question is why didn't they know?
I think that the biggest challenge that we're noticing now that we're on a campus and trying to address some of the issues, the HPV vaccine is actually very expensive. And prior to coming to Hopkins, I worked in the Vaccine for Children's program, where I manage the budget, and I know how expensive it can be to actually withhold the vaccine on campus. And so this is something that, while most children would get this vaccine at 9 or 11 years old, a lot of people missed it because there are some people who just weren't aware of it. Some doctors were against it. And so I just think that ultimately our HBCUs don't have the same kind of funding that a lot of the PWIs have. And it makes it challenging for them to house one of the most expensive vaccines that we have. You need space in your refrigerator for it. There are a lot of things that need to go right. And what if nobody comes? And so now we're trying to solve that problem by bringing the health department or Safeway Pharmacy on a mobile unit to bring the vaccine to solve the cost problem. We still can allow, students have insurance, or with this, the state has some free vaccines. But this will solve that problem of having the HBCU house the vaccine. We'll provide resources. So my office is focused on education. So I provide location resources of where these students outside of our program can get vaccinated if they need to or if they choose to. And so making sure that we provide that information, and we're using the students. So we're not going in there and just delivering the information ourselves. We're using health educating students or public health students. We're teaching them and training them to go and be ambassadors. So now this becomes a conversation that they take back to their fraternities and sororities. These are conversations that they might have events on, rather than just focusing on when, Johns Hopkins is going to come in. We're equipping the students with what they need to become the powerhouse. And hopefully that is what will make the change in causing more funding to go towards having vaccines that prevent cancers like cervical cancer.
I'm hearing there's a strong advocacy component.
I have a question. Sorry to interrupt.
I'm sorry?
Yes, I have a question. Sorry to interrupt. The vaccine is recommended also for any adult. It could be like in an elderly age, or is just
So the vaccine's actually approved now from ages 9 to 45. There's some differences in dosing and how that works, but ideally we would like to get vaccinated at around 9 to 11 years old. We want it to be the furthest removed from the child's first sexual experience. We want them to have time for that vaccine to really circulate through their system. But if you miss that window, yeah, you can get the vaccine up until age 45.
Okay. And beyond that age, what happens if they get it?
Beyond that age, I don't think that they've completed all of the research, and I would assume it's a conversation to have with your provider, because I think then it would become more of a lifestyle conversation. And HPV is not only a problem for women with cervical cancer, but it causes head and neck cancers in men. And most of the time, they don't see that until they're in their 50s and 60s. And then there's no screening test for them. So the best way to prevent this is to get vaccinated.
Okay, thank you.
So, I mean, this is just a wealth of information that we are getting. And again, I cannot thank the three of you who have gone thus far. And now, I mentioned earlier that advocacy sounds like a piece that has a place in what you're doing. And I also just, it reminds me also about people with disabilities. If you don't have strong advocates and a wider range of voice to get the message out, it's very difficult. And I know we have a nationally known advocate on the line, Regina Bly, who's in Texas, who I am sure she could relate to what you were saying in my question that I was asking you about. But I digress. And we will now move. We're talking about advocacy. We're going to have Miss Advocacy USA to come on, welcoming Sylvia Powers, who is the project coordinator for the National Consortium of Breast Centers, or NCBC, as it is so affectionately called. Sylvia is a central figure in NCBC's advocacy and administrative efforts, frequently representing the organization at national events and managing its professional outreach. I bumped into her a month or so ago at a Susan Komen Advocacy Summit here in DC. And actually, I shouldn't say I bumped into her. I didn't register, and it was closed. And thanks to Sylvia, she was able to get a registration so that I could attend. So Sylvia also plays a leading role in organizing the annual interdisciplinary breast center conference, which I've had the honors of attending twice, both in Las Vegas and this year, along with Dr. Alejandra Hurtado de Mendoza, when we visited the conference in Cleveland, Ohio. So why don't I just bring Sylvia Powers to tell us about the great work that she is doing. Sylvia?
Well, I tell you what, you're bringing me and I'm going to talk about the great work that you're doing. Thelma's been so gracious to talk about being a part of the two conferences that NCBC has done. However, she did not mention the fact that she was co-chair for our 5th annual advocacy summit. And this was the best summit that we've had in the 5 years of the conference. And it's because she did not take that position lightly. She constantly talked about it. I have been on your call every month religiously all year long, and she's allowed me to share. She shared in her newsletter. She was one of the speakers for our conference. And she was engaged as a co-chair. It wasn't just like a title. It was something that she took very seriously. And because of her commitment last year, she's also my co-chair for 2027. And when she mentioned that she hadn't registered, it was the easiest thing that I could do to get her involved with the Susan G. Komen advocacy. When I mentioned her name, that was all I had to say. They were like, no problem. She's in. They're like, we know of her work. We get her newsletters. It was not a hard sell at all. But I have a tremendous amount of respect for her, for what she's doing. She's a woman of her word. If she says she's going to do something, she's going to do it. And I am grateful to be a part of that. She is also part of my my core advocacy team. We meet tomorrow at 11 o'clock Central Time. If you're interested, you can, I will put my email in the chat. Send me an email and I'll send you a link. We will be talking about mental health because this is Mental Health Month. And a lot of people forget chemotherapy, surgery, all those things go with breast cancer. But the combination of the side effects and the financial impact also creates a mental stress in our community, and it's something we don't talk about. So we want to address it, and we want to help people to be successful in their journeys, and that's dealing with the entire person. So I am so grateful to be on this call. The information here is always absolutely amazing, and thanks so much for the wonderful presenters today, because in our community, the things that you talked about, they're important, and people will forego their rent for their hair. So not realizing they're actually foregoing their health. We appreciate Thelma's tenacity in bringing all subjects, whether they're pretty or pink or not. She's gonna bring them to the forefront. So thank you very much, and I appreciate being a part of this call.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. We really appreciate having you here, and we appreciate the great work that you are doing with NCBC. And Sylvia will be returning to some of our other meetings and giving us an update on where next year's conference is going to be. And I would invite you to consider attending the conference. I've learned so much there, and it was a powerful networking opportunity. So I will leave that there as we move now to the presentation by Howard University. And this is their mom study, Mind Over Matter. And we will have Naomi Vinod, who will be sharing a little bit about this important research study that's going on at an HBCU, Howard University, and the work that she and Jenna, her partner, will be discussing and helping us to better understand the health experiences in our community. Their research focuses on building community connections and helping make sure more voices are included in important health research. So I am happy that they could join us this evening, and I look forward to hearing Naomi talk about Mind Over Matter. I love that title.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the warm welcome. And I can't take all the credit for the title of Mind Over Matter. This group was actually developed by Inova Peterson Life with Cancer. So sometimes you'll hear us also call it MOM for short, but thank you so much for having us. So just to briefly introduce myself, one, thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Naomi Vinod, and I'm very excited to share an IRB-approved study that we have at Howard University, where we get to present our group, Mind Over Matter. Thank you so much. So Mind Over Matter is a supportive skills-based group developed out of Inova Peterson Life with Cancer for women living with cancer. This group is a safe, welcoming space where participants can learn practical coping skills, connect with others who understand similar experiences, and build emotional support and knowledge together. Our goal is to help women feel supported, empowered, and less alone during their cancer journey. So, what is the skills group? In this group, we focus on practical skills that can help participants navigate the emotional and daily challenges that often come with cancer. Sessions include stress management techniques, self-care practices, mindfulness activities, and supportive discussions. The group is designed to be interactive, supportive, and encouraging. Participants are welcome to share experiences, ask questions, or simply listen, whatever feels most comfortable for them. So, benefits of participating. One of the most valuable parts of a support and skills group is the opportunity to connect with others who truly understand what you may be going through. Participants often find comfort in knowing that they're not alone. The group can help reduce feelings of isolation while providing practical tools for managing stress, anxiety, and emotional challenges. Many women who discover new strengths within themselves through support of this group, and our environment is welcoming, respectful, and non-judgmental, and everyone is encouraged to participate at their own pace. Each session is structured to provide both support and practical skill building opportunities. Meetings may include guided discussion, coping activities, relaxation exercises, and opportunities for participants to connect with one another. Confidentiality and respect are very important in this group. We want participants to feel emotionally safe and supported. There's never any pressure to speak or share personal information, and everyone can participate in a way that feels special and right for them. So with that, who can join the group? The group is specifically designed for women at any stage of their cancer journey, interested in seeking emotional support and learning coping skills. Participants do have to be at least 18 years of age, have access to the internet and email because we provide this group virtually, and have no prior experience participating in a mom group. We would love to welcome anyone who may benefit from participation in this group. hosted through Howard University. If you are interested in joining or learning more, please feel free to reach out using the contact information that's provided. On our very last slide, we had a flyer, but I will also share our contact information in the chat as well. Feel free to send us an email or a phone number if interested in participation or just hearing more about our group in general. Thank you again for your time today. We hope that this group can be a source of support, connection, and encouragement for women throughout their cancer journey.
Thank you so much, Naomi. And we certainly will reach out to you again. We've had quite a few rounds of communication, and the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund looks forward to helping to disseminate the information about the MOM study. And it looks like I can participate. I know it says you have to be at least 18, but there wasn't a cap age on it. So I am looking forward to being a part of that study.
Yeah, absolutely. We would love to have you. Thank you so much. I appreciate a space for us to share our project.
Oh, you're welcome. And I think we've done great tonight in hearing about research study. Dr. Teteh-Brooks, I hope I did invite you to send the information about your study so that we can disseminate it as well.
Yes,
So
I'll get that to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now as we move along, we're looking at some advocacy in a different area, and this is involving youth in the workforce development space. And I am so pleased that quite a bit of the information that we have covered tonight is also about youth, and particularly their buying power in the sense of purchasing products that we are looking at the harmful impacts of them. So they do need an income or some means to have funds to purchase items. And I am happy to bring forth Ava Millstone, who will tell us about a wonderful internship program that she has started, for which the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund is so proud to be a part of. And let me just share you a bit about Ava, who lives here in Southwest DC. She's an education consultant and curriculum design professional, and again, based here in the nation's capital. She currently serves as the Senior Director of Curriculum Design at Integral Ed Services, where she manages educational strategy and curriculum development for nonprofits and local education agencies. So Ava and I have had the opportunity to work together around advocacy at our elementary school, Amadon Bowen, here in Southwest. And she has joined the Youth Activities Task Force, which is a task force that provides recreational, educational, cultural, and technological efforts to build and develop our youth. And I am happy that she has brought the Next Gen Southwest Internship Program as part of the developmental stages that we're working on here in Southwest. So Ava, welcome, and please take it away.
Thank you, Thelma, and thank you, everyone, for sharing so much really wonderful and helpful information tonight. You all know Thelma from her work with the Breast Cancer Foundation, where she works tirelessly and prolifically throughout the field. But you may not know that Thelma does the same thing here in our neighborhood in Southwest DC, where she has been the chair of the Youth and Activities Task Force for a very long time, which has done a lot of work investing in our youth. I have two sons growing up here, and that's how we met, was through the elementary school many years ago. We're creating this internship program. It's not a new idea. It's an idea that has been an important part of Southwest DC's and DC's history. Thelma helped develop an incredible youth career development program at the World Bank that started in the 80s and is still running today. Hundreds of kids from Southwest and beyond in DC have gone through that program. So she and I and a couple of other neighbors, including Rhonda Hamilton and Monique Sledesky, have been working on this, developing this program for our neighborhood. We really have four main goals. Most importantly, to empower our local youth, 18 to 26-year-olds. We want to give them an opportunity to get involved in our community and also build marketable skills, gain mentorship and connections, and feel like a leader in the community. We're also proud to advance our community legacy of supporting the youth and supporting inclusive pathways in our neighborhood for kids to gain a great education and then go on and find successful jobs in the workforce. We're also hoping that this program will help foster intergenerational community and give young people opportunities to work with older folks in the neighborhood and vice versa, learn together and build those relationships, which will make us stronger and strengthen our neighborhood. So we have Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Foundation is one of the amazing nonprofits in our neighborhood. We have many others. And so we are excited for the young people to kind of add their capacity, add their innovation, their ideas, and their energy to many of our local civic organizations. I won't get into the timeline or the program in too much detail, but I just wanted to let you all know that the application is now open for the young people. So if you know anyone who lives in or near Southwest DC or has a connection to Southwest DC, please encourage them to apply if they're 18 to 26. Over the summer, we'll be selecting our first cohort of interns. They will go through some training in September and start in October of this year. We really feel like this is a win-win-win. Our interns are going to gain some really valuable experience, paid experience, and a deeper connection to our neighborhood. Our partner organizations are going to gain their additional capacity and energy, and really, that ability to help shape the next generation. And our neighborhood is going to become stronger. So there's three things that we're out here talking about: fundraising, mentorship, and connecting us to the young people. You can learn more about all of those and access the application and links to the partner survey and the donation link at nextgensouthwest.org. And thank you all so much for your time tonight and for your support in the public health field. And thank you, Thelma.
Thank you so much, Ava. And I know everyone else shares my sentiments that this is a wonderful program. And if you don't have a similar one like that in your community, I think you should consider doing that. Because with the way the economy is going, we really have to support our youth in a different way than when my generation or the generations before me had come about. So please consider that. And I am hoping there will be many ways that the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund will benefit from this. And thank you, LaTanya. Again, LaTanya is my colleague from the World Bank, which is where she did a lot of volunteer work with the summer jobs program that I had the honors of creating there. But the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund goal is to teach breast health classes to the youth We're starting off small, but we're going to grow. As many of you know, breast cancer and colon cancer is at an alarmingly increased rate among young people. So we can't wait until they get 40 to do a mammogram or 50 or 55 to be screened for colon cancer. It is important that we start educating them age appropriately now. So I look forward to doing that, not only with Next Gen, but with the schools here in Southwest and then moving beyond. And then also, I am hoping that one of the students can work with the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund. As many of you know, our nonprofit does not have any paid employers, so we welcome the additional help. So thank you again, Ava. And if any of you would like to be mentors or consider making a donation to the program, we welcome that. Thank you. So now we are at the point of announcements, and I'm going to direct your attention. If you have received the agenda, the announcements are at the last page, one of which is our next support group meeting on Wednesday, June 17th. And it's National Men's Health Month, where we will focus on mental health. We appreciate a couple of you mentioned that this month, May, is Mental Health Month. So thank you for mentioning that. But our support group meeting will focus on mental health, particularly in men. Our speakers will be Dr. Kermit A. Crawford, who some of you have seen. He's spoken here several times, who's retired from Boston University Medical School, and also Dr. Tom Elmore, whose expertise is in counseling and substance abuse management. So, as you know, substance abuse runs the gamut in many ways, not just alcohol and drugs, but as Tom Elmore or Dr. Elmore was telling me, many people are having problems with managing prescription drugs, that they are becoming addicted to that. So I do encourage you to come back next month to hear that. And then also, I just want to mention that I'm dressed in my Washington National outfit. This is my Washington National jersey that they gave me, and a hat, because the day marks the 8th anniversary of the Washington Nationals team unanimously selecting me as their very first Batgirl in May of 2018. And I was selected for that honor because of the work that I do in breast cancer and civic activism. So go Nats. And if you get a chance, please visit my Facebook page and drop a message in recognition of my 8th anniversary. And just lastly, I wanted to touch on, so we've talked about a number of great studies, and I would be remiss as a trained American Cancer Society Voices of Black Women ambassador if I didn't mention the study that ACS is doing. So how many of you are familiar with Voices of Black Women? Okay. Well, that's good. And so if you're not familiar with it, that That's okay too, because I would like to tell you about it. So, essentially, Voices of Black Women is a landmark study to improve the health for Black women. And our goal is to enroll 100,000 Black women in the U.S. over the next few years to participate in our research study. We're looking for women between the ages of 20 and 60. It was 55. We've now increased it to 60 years of age. And you cannot have ever been diagnosed with any kind of cancer unless it's a less aggressive skin cancer. And of course, you have to live in the US. So how do you participate in this? What is done? So you will participate through an initial 1-hour online survey and then 2 30-minute check-ins each year. And by sharing your personal health experience, you will help build knowledge that can strengthen care for generations of Black women. So why is this important, and how will I benefit from the study? Well, Black women are really underrepresented in research. So the information that you provide will contribute to research that can improve the health of Black women, women like me and many of you. If we are not included in research studies, scientists will not know if we can apply for what we've learned from studies of races of other groups. So basically, this means that our participation in the study can help to ensure that the experiences that are unique to Black women are included in research. And it also, by eligible women participating, it will help to benefit the health of other Black women or generations to come. So if you're interested in participating in Voices of Black Women, and I hope you are, please visit us on the website, voicesofblackwomen.com or cancer.org, or you can just Google my name, Thelma D. Jones, Voices of Black Women, and I will be happy to work with you in getting you signed up for this important study. Are there any questions about it? So I sort of did a fast overview of it, but I will be sending out through our distribution list on a regular basis information about Voices of Black Women. And just because it has my picture on it, don't think I'm promoting myself, but if that's going to attract you to look at the flyer, then that's okay with me, because it is important that we start looking at our health and what we can do, take some ownership in what we can do personally to improve our health. I guess I should just ask very quickly, does anyone have a burning question of 30 seconds or less? Okay. Thank you. Well, let me take this opportunity to thank you again for coming out. I notice we have, and I want to just quickly acknowledge some other people that I see on the call. Regina Bly, who is in Texas, is the disability expert that I've mentioned. Also, our board member, Scarlett Small. And when I was talking about the great things that the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund does, I did not mention our weekly feeding program that has been going on since the start of COVID. And we have provided thousands of bags of fresh produce and lunches to seniors, breast cancer survivors, families, and a range of other people. The demographics are certainly changing from when we first started the program. Also, Sergio Jimenez, our webmaster, is an active part of that program as well. We have some of our ambassadors on the phone, Denise Triplett, and of course, Karen Hargrove, who was on earlier. And we have Colleen Moran. Colleen and I met at the conference in Cleveland, Ohio. So we're happy to see Colleen on the phone, on the line. And last, Lisa Matthews, who chairs our scholarship program that will be working closely with Ava, Rhonda, Monique, and I in helping to ensure that we get a good cadre of applicants to ensure the success of our next gen internship program. So with that, I want to thank our guest speakers, Dr. Alyssa Franklin, Dr. Teteh-Brooks. Also, I want to thank Jalecia King, Sylvia Powers, Naomi Vinoy, and of course, Ava Millstone. So thank you very much and have a good evening. And we look forward to seeing you next month. Oh,
Bye-bye.
There's my cute.
Bye-bye. Yeah, bye-bye. Good night.
So thank you very much, everyone, and I'll see you next month.